Big Drive Energy Monday edition after the Valspar. We're going to chat with Mitchell about what it was like to be down in Tampa, Florida for this event. And he's currently not on the screen right now. If you're watching this on the YouTube, we appreciate you guys all tuning in. He is not on the screen right now because he's going to find his AirPods, but I have some very serious questions for him because he hopped on here as he does usually very early, very like 1 minute to spare before the stream starts, right? 1:59 p.m. he's hopping on. And he's like, hey, and usually he's taking a shit, let's be honest. Usually it's like, hey, man, I got a deuce, and then I'll be in there. Today it was, hey, I'm finishing up a bowl of cereal. Mitchell, can you show the people watching on the YouTube what you were just eating a bowl of cereal out of? A Penn State Nittany Lions cup.
Well, the Penn State
You're
thing
gonna
is
have
irrelevant.
The Penn State thing is a Missy thing. It's fine. But in what world were you eating cereal out of an aluminum cup? I feel like that's so out of bounds.
I feel like it's so much easier as a utility to carry around your cereal. And there's plenty of space to scoop it with the spoon. And then the milk, you just drink it. It's so much easier to drink out of the cup. Like when you think about it, I'm on the right end of this. I don't know how there's more people that don't eat cereal out of a cup instead of a bowl, because a bowl is kind of a pain in the ass. It's a little convenient. You can roll around with a cup of cereal like a cup of ice cream. Cups might be one of the best inventions of all time. Think about when a Neanderthal invented a cup and they could carry water away from their water source and still drink it. They probably thought that was the best invention. I mean, it was then and it is now. And I truly wish we lived in a time currently where I could invent things, because I feel like I'm so creative, but there's so many things that have already been invented. Like, I know you wanted to talk about what a secret skill is, but like what is something that you've always thought like you could invent that would be fire?
Well, not necessarily that it would be that fire, but I've had this invention idea for a long time, never taken it to market, but I even named it. I would call it the Genitowel. And essentially what it is a towel that has a corner that's a different substance. And substance isn't the right word. Material is the right word. It's a different material in the corner, different color maybe. You could do whatever you want with it. But then when you use that towel, you clearly know what you're wiping your genitalia with. You're using that corner every single time to wipe your D's and B's, maybe in your grundle, and you're not using it to also wipe your face. And I've never brought it to market, never got the prototypes, never done any of the things. I watch a lot of Shark Tank and have been recently. I'll actually like quad box Shark Tank sometimes, which is a sicko move. Like I don't want to miss sports, but I'll have Shark Tank on and the sound on for Shark Tank. And I really wish there was a Shark Tank for more beginners, more non-grinders, where I just want to show up there with an idea and have them, yes, and have them decide to hop on board with me. I think I could get Lori on the Genitowel with QVC and really start a business and start my own brand. But you have to have sales, and you have to have this and that. And I just don't have the time to start the Genitowel, but that is one of my ideas.
I like that. I mean, that is, I will forever be an ideas guy and not an execution guy. That's just, if I could have somebody execute for me, I've got a shitload of good ideas. I feel like I just belong in the C-suite of a company making big decisions, but I don't want to go through all the bullshit to get to there. Like, it feels like it feels easier. Why is it that the higher up you get at a job, the easier it is? Like, the people at the bottom are doing the hardest, worst shit. And then you have a CEO that goes to like board meetings and virtually does nothing and makes like $20 million a year. So I've never really understood that. My invention would probably be, I think that bed sheets that change temperature when your alarm goes off would be my invention. Like, you're nice, cozy, warm in your sheets. Your alarm goes off at 7 p.m. Those sheets get down to 45, 50 degrees. You're not going to want to stay in bed. you're gonna be fucking pissed. You're gonna want to get out of bed. And that was one invention I felt like you could. I actually do think there's a mattress now that you can change temperature and like do it by time. So I think somebody may have beat me to that. Maybe it's not sheets, maybe it's a mattress, but I genuinely feel like that would be a really clutch thing for. Luckily, I don't have to get out of bed early, and I don't know how you do it constantly. It's just something that you have ingrained inside of you at this point. But there's nothing worse than, and Missy and I have talked about this. It just feels like right when your alarm goes off, and it's such a mental psychology though. Like when you have to get out of bed, bed feels so much comfier. But then on a weekend when you have no reason to get out of bed, it's like 7 a.m. and you're like, oh, I want to get up. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. But 7 a.m. rolls around on a weekday and you're like, oh, fuck, I wish I could lay here for another 3 hours. It's just such a psychological thing to have to overcome. Sorry, I was burping up my Cinnamon Life cereal there.
Oh, yeah, I was also going to ask you what cereal was. Cinnamon Life goes hard. I haven't had Life cereal in a long time. Right now, we've got a rotation of Cheerios, Lucky Charms, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch at our house, but it's mostly for my toddler, not for me. I will say, though, sometimes if I do take a gummy pre-bed, a bowl of cereal always gets torn down by me right before I go to bed.
A bowl of cereal is truly such a plug-and-play type of meal. It's not even a meal. It's a morning thing. It's an afternoon thing. It's an evening thing. I've never thought about having a bowl of cereal and be like, gross. It just always sounds good. And unfortunately, because it's so fucking bad for you, it's heinous. Like
right.
The way the cereal marketing,
Big Cereal.
Big Cereal is some of the best marketing in the world. How they somehow tell people it's like for their health, because it is just fucking sugar. And that's why I don't buy it often. But when it's in the house, I'm like, oh yeah, a little bowl of cereal, a little cup of cereal, more like. Oh yeah, have a little cup of cereal. It's just such an easy, quick little snack, quick little grab it and go type thing that, that's why I don't really keep it in the house.
Yeah, cereal is one of those snacks where you just absolutely could go ham any time of the day. It's good for breakfast. It's good for dessert. It's all time good. But I will say a lot of the times I find myself, if I'm craving cereal, and maybe this just goes back to the psychology of not wanting to get out of bed when you have to and wanting to when you don't, is I always feel like I could use a different cereal. I always feel like the cereal that I have is like option 3, 4, and 5, but not option 1 and 2. Grass is always greener type scenario, I guess. But
what is option 1 of your cereal?
Well, it's just what I'm feeling. Like normally Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Lucky Charms, or actually don't really like Lucky Charms at all. I'm just like my 2-year-old. I love the marshmallows, not really in love with the brown, the wheat, or the grain part of it. Cinnamon Toast Crunch has got to be up there, but Reese's Puffs, Cinnamon Life in general. But I just feel like whatever you have is never what you want. And that's why sometimes it's fun, because we're kind of clearing out all of our bad for you snacks, if you will. We got a ton after we had the second kid, people just bringing us chocolates and candies. And then of course, Valentine's Day, Kylie got a ton of that from her school. But there was a period of time where I'd want to go in and eat a snack. And usually you don't have the shit. I don't have my Twizzlers. I don't keep those around, like the elite top of the top snacks. But for that period of time, we were getting all this candy and all this exciting stuff that I didn't know we had. So I was tricking myself into thinking this is what I wanted, because I was like, all right, I have to eat what we have. And then I'd go in there and find all these things that I didn't know we had. And immediately that's what gets eaten. That because I didn't think we had it. And I was craving something that I didn't think we had. And then open up the snack cabinet and voila, there's some chocolate sea salt caramels or something.
Oh, yeah, those are gas. That was quite a long story. I really still don't understand what you meant by it, but we'll just we'll go with that.
I feel like if I have 3 types of cereal and I want a bowl of cereal, I'd rather have a different cereal that is not currently in my house than the 3 bowls that I have.
But what if you have the 3 that you want? What if you're just saying you'll never have the 3 that you want in your house?
Yeah, I'll just it's just the time of a craving of cereal. I never end up having the cereal that I'm craving, or I
Isn't
always
it
think there's a
funny?
better option out there.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Isn't it funny when you buy shit and then you like see it in the cabinet or the fridge and just go, why did I buy that? And I don't know, some part of my brain just flips off when I'm at the grocery store. I'm like, we need this, we need that. Like a whole jar of peaches that I bought. I talked about that on the pod. I've eaten like less than half of the jar, and it's been a good 3 weeks at this point. It's just something that maybe I'll have some after. I don't know. I just go through these wild patterns of where we're on a wine drinking kick right now. We're drinking white wine, and it tastes so fucking good. And now, not every night, but like nights that we're planning on drinking, I'm like, yeah, white wine sounds great. And I never used to like wine. And then I was on like martinis with blue cheese olives, and I still kind of am. I enjoy a good martini. But that is sensational urge, insatiable, and is which word am I looking for here?
Um,
Insatiable, I think. Uninsatiable. Holy shit.
no, satiable urge. I know what you're trying to say, but I
Yeah.
don't know the right term.
Now that I keep repeating it, it just sounds more wrong and more wrong. But I was on a kick with martinis, and now I am kind of off of that. So I don't know. And that's always the thing when you buy snacks is you buy a snack and you may be on it for like a week, and then you buy it again and you don't eat it. Like I've thrown out more kielbasa sausage because it always just I fucking love sausage. And I keep buying it, it sits there for a month. But when I go to eat, like when I actually do eat it, I'm like, fuck, why don't I eat this more often? So it's such a fucking I'm just my dumb, stupid brain. Well, before I do want to talk about some college basketball and shit before golf, but what
Yeah.
was you mentioned that and I know when you think about things you want to talk about, you pose it as a question, but you really just want to tell me your answer. So
Well,
tell me what you were thinking.
no, that is semi true because I want to tell the world how good I am at this certain thing, but I also want to hear if you have a skill like this where you just do it and you're like, wow, I'm the best at this. And I definitely thought of this while I was having a few and texted you up pretty late Friday night. But so the homework assignment for those of you listening and maybe got lost in our conversation about cereal or whatever we were talking about is I gave Mitchell the homework assignment of picking a skill, and it's a very unique skill that you're better than everybody at. And mine is so mundane that it seems irrelevant, but I just think I'm the best at this, and it's brushing my teeth. I feel like I'm the best teeth brusher this side of the Mississippi. And I have no idea why I think that, but every time I brush my teeth, I'm like, I do such a fucking good job of this. I'm getting every area. I'm doing the right,
How
you
often
know,
are you high when you brush your teeth? Because it
not
just
all not all that often. I just when I brush my teeth, I'm like, the dentists always tell me I do a phenomenal job. I've got this.
the dentist
First of
always
all,
glaze you in your ability.
yeah, first of all, not using an electric. I will never not use an electric toothbrush again. Like when I go on a vacation and I have a old stale toothbrush that I have to use in the hotel, I'm livid. I can't stand it. But use my electric toothbrush and I just got all the moves. I just pull out all the stops on my teeth and I feel
Doing
like I'm
tricks
really
on
good.
that thing.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm elite at brushing my teeth. Like I could teach a class to people on how to do it.
Okay. I've literally never thought that was a skill once in my life. So I
Well,
think
that's why I was trying. I didn't want to ruin it and I didn't want to tell you early, but that's how.
you did not tell me, and I would have never
Yeah.
guessed. So
Yeah, no, but that's why I wanted you to think, but I didn't know if you got your skill is in the same world vicinity as mine that you
it
thought of.
is. It kind of is, but mine isn't like a skill. It's like maybe it is kind of a skill, but it's a learned skill that I just have had for my whole life, and I think it'll come as a surprise to some people. But my hand-eye coordination and my ability to like catch things when they're falling is fucking unbelievable. Like for instance, I put I just raw dog like hard boiled eggs in the fridge. It's kind of stupid. I just kind of set them like up against the edge of the thing and hope that they stay there. But I was pulling something out of the fridge and I knocked one of the hard boiled eggs. And I just out of the air, didn't even look, just snagged that. And I immediately looked around. I was like, did nobody else see that? And I feel like that all the time. I have such good hand-eye coordination to just grab shit. And I truly do attest it to our mom as I was like 3 or 4 years old. I remember because I was at Leo's house, who worked for our dad, like fucking, I mean, when we were little kids. So I think I was like 3, maybe 4. We were over at Leo's house and mom gave me a tennis ball and told me to throw it up against the wall. And just like, I wanted to improve like my hand-eye coordination. And all I did was throw this tennis ball around and catch it. And I had done that since I was a little kid. And I feel like my hand-eye coordination is elite for looking like I look like. Maybe that's why I'm better at golf than I should be. And my short game is really good, but I just have I have some sort of inherent touch about me that I feel like is higher level than most. So
Okay, I really fuck with that. I think that's exactly
that's
what I
kind
was
of
thinking.
along the same wavelength
Yeah.
of what you were. Okay. Yeah. There's just something so electric about like, oh, perfect example. We were at Crown and Bowl in St. Pete having dinner, and the waitress, and I'm like 4 Coors Lights deep at this point. You'd think my senses would be dulled. Absolutely not. The waitress, we all had like steaks and shit. So she was pulling the plates out of our way, but Garbs' dad was sitting next to me. He just randomly rolled in. He didn't even come in with us. So he just ran into us there and sat down. But Garbs' dad was next to me and she grabs my plate and then she grabs that idiot Yasa's plate next to me. And Yasa's steak knife is like kind of teetering and it's about to fall right into Shawnee Boy's lap. And I just fucking reach out, catch it out in midair. And she goes, holy shit, good catch. And I threw that bit. I'm like, all in a day's work, baby. I'm just like a superhero if it was just catching random objects that were falling and hitting the ground.
Oh,
So
that's amazing. Well,
it
that
was
didn't
elite.
disappoint. That didn't disappoint. I'm happy that I, after a few pops, decided that I was better at everyone brushing my fucking teeth, and then sparked this great convo.
Hell yeah, that was a great, and I feel like there's more of that. I feel like there's little skills. Another thing that is also a learned skill, but I am just somebody that has to know what direction I'm looking at all times. So I am and Spencer just gives me shit about this at all times. So does Missy. I don't really know if I've ever ran into somebody. I feel like I might be hanging out with the wrong people, honestly, because nobody understands me when I'm talking about west, southwest. We're going in this direction. This is east. This is south. I don't know. I just am very directionally oriented. So if you put me, so I'm like a Boy Scout. I don't know. Maybe I should have been in the Boy Scouts because that shit interests me. So I am. If you listen to this podcast long enough, you'll know that I'm pretty well endowed with random, well endowed, not there, but with random facts about nothing. So it comes in handy from time to time, but people are like, "Oh, you're so smart." I'm like, "No, I'm like a master of none. I know a lot. I know a little about a lot of things, and I know golf. That's about it."
Yeah, well, we let's talk a little bit of March Madness because our boys, IOWA. I'm actually watching the women, dude, are kind of effing the dog here. The Iowa women are the 2 seed. They were a 30-point favorite against Missy's school, Fairleigh Dickinson, 2 nights ago. And in the
Wow.
ladies tournament, I believe they play the first 2 rounds at the host of the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. I don't know. Like, I was at home today. But now they have the 10 seed Virginia, and they just gave up a layup with 14 seconds left in overtime to tie the game, and now going to a second overtime. And it
Jesus,
would
and they
be,
lost the fourth quarter by 9.
yeah, they're kind of, I mean, obviously Caitlin Clark, the GOAT, she doesn't go there anymore. So, but they're perennially now a top 3 or 4 team in the country, 2 seed in the tournament, and now they're fighting with the Virginia Cavaliers in double overtime just to move on to the Sweet 16. Let's talk about our boys winning and beating Florida, because that might be the most excited I've been after a game in a long, long time. Number one, Iowa's gotten bounced from the tourney from the first couple weeks or the first weekend. Almost every time we've been alive. Last Sweet 16 was 1999. I wasn't like dialed into Iowa hoops at that point when I was 5 years old. And I think just the fact that I had, taken what they did in the round of 64, beating Clemson, a 9 seed. Obviously, you got a 1 seed coming up next. I was happy, and it's embarrassing as a sports fan to admit it, but I was thrilled they won a game. And I was like, just make it close against Florida, make it feel like you've been here before.
Yeah.
And then we build on that. Now, the college basketball is crazy because we are going to lose a lot of seniors, and all this coming out about where these kids went to started their college is electric, because that graphic came out, and like Iowa had Northwest Missouri State on there. They had one kid from Iowa, one kid that started his basketball career at Iowa, but all the other ones were like, 2 of them were Wyoming, ironically. Coach McCollum got a couple kids from the UW. I think Cam Manyow and Tavion Banks both came from Wyoming, I want to say.
Wow.
But they have all these and then Bennett Sturch started at Northwest Missouri State, moved on to Drake with McCollum, and now moved on to Iowa with McCollum. But the fight those boys had, and yesterday I just kept telling myself there's no way they're going to win this game. They kept it close in the first half. I was like, okay, now it's time for them to get blown out in the second half. They took took that 12-point lead when Koch hit that 3 and they were up 51.
What did I text you guys? What did I text you?
I don't remember.
I was like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah, it felt like we're always so on the other side of those insane runs.
100%.
And we're down but usually, like, I don't know if our opinions on sports are kind of warped right now, because the Broncos went 14-3 this year, right? Avs have the best record in the NHL, and the Nuggets have been struggling, but at the last 5 years have one of the better overall records in the NBA. So, and we know what the Rockies are. We don't get into that on this podcast. I do a whole separate podcast on the Rockies, so I get my Rockies fill. But
you get your rocks off.
I get my rocks off on them losing 119 games. But we just expect our teams to win. And even the Hawkeyes football team, like, they have some frustrating losses, but every year they're going to win 9 or 10 games. And then every year they're going to probably win their bowl game or be really competitive in their bowl game, depending on who they get. So maybe we have a warped, and soon, the scary part is we're not going to have this anymore. Like 5-6 years from now, the Avs might be dog water. The Nuggets might be dog water. The Broncos are hopefully still decent, but I'm like already worried about how bad our teams are going to be in the next 5 years. And it makes me try to enjoy now a little bit more. But the Iowa game was the opposite of that. I was like, they're going to get blown out. They don't have a chance. And they fought the whole time. And then hitting a game-winning shot, as sick as it is, I was like, when they were up 12, I was like, man, I'd rather them win this game on a game-winning shot, because the after feeling will be so good. And even as sketchy as that is, that feeling afterwards, I haven't felt that over a sporting event in a while.
Well, yeah, because that's the problem, is we have expectations of all of our teams, except for Iowa basketball, I would say, and the Rock. This would be like the equivalent of the Rockies, like going to the National League Championship Series, basically. And maybe not. I mean, Iowa's definitely better than the Rockies, but such low expectations that even though we got out of the first round, we're like, holy shit, great, And Fran McCaffrey, we had dealt with all this shit for the last better part of 2 decades, where it just felt like the same thing over and over. And do you ever think about those old teams with like the Murray brothers and like Luka Garza and shit? We never made it to the Sweet 16, and now all of a sudden, and Ben McCollum's and that just goes to show you how much coaching matters, especially in college ball, where there's, you have such young, malleable minds. You know what the term malleable means?
Yeah, you can mold it. You can change it around.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. But he just seems, and the whole scuffle was awesome too. The dude swung at the ball. He was not swinging at the other player. I saw a lot of national media being like, how is he still even in the game? He
Oh,
was
Florida
clearly
fans
swinging
were
at
so
the
butthurt.
ball. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it does. There's an angle where it does look like he's just about to go full, Conor McGregor on that dude's face. And then the other angle is you can tell he's clearly like, instead of swinging, like the closed fist was a little insane, but but you can tell he's like not even swinging. He's just trying to like get the ball back.
Well, and
And
especially after getting ripped down to the ground after the whistle, like
right.
that's the shit where, and I was telling Missy, because Missy's like, well, what about, him ripping him down to the ground? I'm like, well, the instigator's always the one. I'm sorry, the instigator's never the one that gets penalized. It's the one who retaliates. It's always the retaliation. And in that case, it's like they did the right thing. They called a double technical. It was unnecessary on both sides, and you just keep it pushing. But the people that thought that Buddy should have been out of the game for that is unbelievable. And that just, it goes to show you how soft college sports, just sports in general. And I was even talking to Justin about just like locker room culture and the difference between, because Garbs is in college. What is it? It's his 6th NFL season. So he's 28, 29. So like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, he got drafted in 2020. So
Okay. Yeah. So he was in college beginning 10 years ago up until like 6 years ago. And he said that now I think he thinks that the locker room situation is so different. And his roommate, Scotty Washington, was with us. And they played football together at Wake Forest. And he goes, dude, the locker room now is so different. It's so weird. Like, and especially and I really didn't think about it, but in the NIL era, everyone is just so much less close. It's so much more of a business than it is like a camaraderie. And I think that's where sometimes these bigger programs kind of, they have an advantage talent wise, but they don't have an advantage camaraderie wise. And ultimately at the end of the day, the teams that are the most close knit along that can combine the talent and the gel together, I think those are ultimately the best teams. So it seems like Iowa really had that kind of close knit fighting for your brothers out there, because you're just the plucky underdog. You don't have expectations. So as the game kept getting closer, I kept just waiting for us to shit the bed and for Florida to go on a 15-0 run and be like, oh, that 5 minutes was fun when I thought that and okay, let me ask you this. When your team, and I guess just like this game, because whenever the Nuggets play, whenever the Avs play, whenever the Broncos play, at least the last couple of years, there's very rarely have we gone into a game, I'm like, I expect to get shit stomped. Like I expect, and maybe I will say that this year when the Broncos went into Philly and we won that game, that was another game where you're like, holy shit, like did not expect it whatsoever. But how early, like, did you let the thought of Iowa actually winning that game creep into your mind?
With 3 seconds left after Fulgaris hit that shot.
Dude, when we were up 12, I'm like, could we boat race these guys? Like, I was like, can we beat them by 20? I was so caught off guard.
Yeah, when we were up 12, I definitely was like, at this point, because of the way Iowa's played and the way they played, they got up 12 on Clemson in round 1 and kind of pissed it away a little bit, made it a little closer than it should have been. But they play so methodical and so slow on the offensive end, where they're literally, I'm like pulling my hair out every single time, because they get to 7-8 seconds on the shot clock and then they get into their offense and start trying to make a move. So I was doing the mental math in my head when they were up 12. I'm like, okay, there's 10 minutes left. If you slow down and use all 30 seconds of the shot clock, you're only giving them, 10 to 15 more possessions. If you score on 4 or 5 of those, you can keep, and in reality, that was insane, because they were up 51-39 and they won 73-72. So they allowed 33 points on defense in the last 11 minutes of the game. Just a score fest. And luckily they had enough to score. But no, I legitimately thought about them winning the game the first couple of minutes. They were down 4-0, I think. And I hadn't turned it on yet. And then I turn it on. They get up like 6-4, 8-4. And I was like, man, maybe they just have it today. And then after the first half, I was like, oh, Florida played like shit. They're just ready to turn on the Jets. This is a team that just won the national title last year. And then I'm like, all right, I don't know if they can hang on. And they so like the thing to me is that I thought Bennett Sturts had to be more special for us to beat them. Turns out like Tavion Banks was special, Cooper Koch was special, Koch, sorry, Cooper Koch.
Cooper Horse Koch.
It should just be Cook. You know, that's a. I know it's not phonetically correct, but it should just be Cook. But I thought they had to be more special than they were, and do all the little things to win that game. And they did all those. They did a lot more than it appeared. But the times they missed the 1-and-1s, the front end of the 1-and-1s on the free throw line, the last like 3 minutes, I think Maniau did it twice. Fucking Maniau turned it over, trying to go full bore, head of steam, dribbled it off his foot. Tavion Banks, who's been balling, he missed the front end of 1-and-1. I'm like, this is where this shit goes wrong. You have to do these things correctly in order to win this game. And then they get the ball, foul them. We got like 4 or 5 seconds left in the game, 6 seconds. They missed the first free throw. So I'm immediately, okay, we got a chance to tie this with one of these crazy game-winning layups where they just don't guard anyone. And you get to the rim, you know, on a full court press or whatever. And then we hit the three. And then Ben McCollum calls these timeouts to set his defense, which sometimes drives me fucking nuts. He calls so many timeouts right after we make a shot that I'm like, dude, I don't think you should be doing this. Now, it's obviously Ben McCollum is a fucking G, and I haven't coached any basketball past like 5-year-olds, and maybe not even that. So I'm not going to question Ben McCollum here, but him calling timeout right after when Florida had no timeouts, it was a little scary to me, right? Because I'm like, dude, they don't have a play set up for this. They weren't fucking practicing the 4-second heave at the end of the game against Iowa. Let's be real here. They were trying to win this game by 15 to 20 points and cruise to the Final Four. So I was a little worried that they called a timeout. Obviously, they got them set up and got the right defense. And then them not getting a shot off was insane to me, because I thought when dude was driving the lane, I thought dude had a wide open layup. I was like, oh my God, he's going to fucking
Me too.
We're going to lose that way. Then who cuts him off? I don't know. I think it was Maniau. Cuts him off. He tries to pass it in the middle. They're fucking huge. Florida's a massive team. They're like an NBA sized team. And he passes it, and I wasn't looking at the clock at all. I thought for sure dude in the paint was going to be able to get the ball, get it up, and still win the game. And the clock went off, and I literally was in shock. I panicked. I paused everything I was doing. My mentals paused. I couldn't react because I was so in utter disbelief.
Oh yeah, I felt the exact same way. I was taken aback, and just such a electric. Those are the moments of being a sports fan that you really do just have to truly enjoy it and just soak it up, because those wins only come by once in a blue moon. Similar to the High Point. Who did High Point beat early? Wisconsin. That was a big one. The end of that Kentucky game where they went back-to-back like game winners. I thought that Nebraska was going to get upset. That ball for Vanderbilt was literally halfway down, and that would have been just an all-time shot that was hit. That did not go in, unfortunately, but there was so much fun basketball. So real quick, before we get into golf, give me, after watching the first weekend, have your thoughts changed about who you like and who you don't? Because Duke has not looked good either. Duke has not looked great. Obviously, Florida's out, so already the chalk is cooked. And Michigan, Like, what are your thoughts?
I think the 1 seeds are still really good. The ones that are left, I think Michigan's still really good. I still believe in Duke. I mean, Iowa, Houston, if that becomes the Elite Eight matchup, that game is going to end 48-49. Both of those teams play so fucking slow and just play defense. And I don't know. St. John's, who I've kind of been on, just because I'm a Pitino guy. I like Rick Pitino. I think St. John's has a really good shot as a 5 seed to make the Final Four. But I think it's still going to go pretty chalky. Iowa State, as much as I hate them, they look really good. there's been a lot of blowouts and a lot of teams that have just been like, all right, we're here and we're dominating. Texas getting this far is insane. I didn't even think they'd win the fucking play-in game, and now they're here in the Sweet 16. So it's been a nice mixture of fun games, a few blowouts here and there, which you come to expect in the first couple of rounds. No insane upsets, like High Point beating Wisconsin, yeah, 12-5, but this is the first tournament in I believe this year and maybe last year, but then it was the first time since like 2008 or 9 that a 13 through 16 seed didn't win their first game. So that part kind of sucks. Like, you got some 12s that won, some 11s, of course, but no 13 through 16 seed won, which is kind of lame. I love when there's like a legit, like a crazy, crazy upset. Not saying that High Point beating Wisconsin wasn't crazy, but like, when Siena had Duke on the ropes, it was like, oh, fuck, this would change everything. This will change everything.
Yeah. Well, and I will actually contend that I think the second weekend of college basketball of March Madness is actually better than the first weekend, because how many of those games out of the 30 some that were played did you look and the spread was under 10? Like, there was probably 60 to 70% of the games the spread was in the 20 to 30 point range, it felt like. So I think just the competition, that's always been my gripe with college basketball and college sports in general, is just the talent gap is so wide relative to professional sports, where a professional team, any given night, you could put the Wizards up against the Thunder and they could give them a fucking game, but once a decade, you'd see a 16 seed take down. I mean, it's happened once or twice in the history of NCAA basketball. So like, once the talent gets more evened out, that's when I think I just like watching a good product. And professional sports isn't always a good product, but these dudes are as talented as talent gets. Like, there's no other level to it. So anybody's capable of winning on any given night.
Yeah, it's truly such a great sport. College basketball and March Madness is incredible. I've watched a couple of games out of my back patio, hot, drinking high noons or whatever. It's been elite. But let's get on to some golf. And speaking of anybody winning any week, shout out to Matty Fitzpatrick coming back after such a gut-wrenching loss at the Players, not only for him, but for Big Drive Spence and his plus 3,200 ticket that he had on Matty Fitz. He comes back and he wins the Valspar. Before we get too much into Matt Fitzpatrick, I want you to tell us, do your little recap of what it was like being there. What do you think of the golf course? Because there's some interesting comments that you sent me today from Michael Kim regarding the Valspar in Innisbrook. And he said it's easily one of the best courses on tour. You have to hit all the shots, and there's a lot of value in hitting the correct one due to design and firmness of the greens. Minus 11 won this event. Matt Fitzpatrick birdied the 72nd hole. But tell me a little bit. I know you've been a couple of years now, but tell us a little bit about how the course was, how it was this year. Obviously, as we talked about last Wednesday in previewing this, a deeper, more strengthened field. Brooks Koepka had a decent week. Matt Fitzpatrick won. You had guys chasing, and Sungjae Im is not really a household name, if you will, anymore, or as much as he was in 2020 when he was taking Dustin Johnson into the Masters. Dustin Johnson down to the wire at the Masters in the fall of the COVID year. But just give us a little thoughts on the course, the Hooters tent, whatever you were doing, and the hospitality, because that's what people want to know. We saw the golf on TV. How's the hospitality and how's the event? Because Michael Kim said they've definitely stepped it up on the player side. So have they stepped it up at all on the viewership side?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it feels like they're making a push to make this a bigger mainstay event, because I think at one point a few years ago, they were talking about completely taking the Valspar away. I guess from a player perspective, it wasn't very highly regarded, not because of the golf course. That was like the only reason they played, but the accommodations were not great. The locker rooms weren't great. The food that the tour provided was not great. And I guess that they brought this new tournament director in, this lady, and I guess she's really turned shit around and really improved it quite a bit, where the food was much better, the lodging, just everything that the players, in order for them to want to come down and play down there, it sounds like it's completely done a 180 from that perspective. But viewership, I mean, it is a great walkable golf course. It is, I don't know how to put it. It's almost like a Parkland style Florida golf course. It's not your typical Florida golf. There is like some, it almost kind of has like a Diet Augusta vibe to it. It's, and I've never been to Augusta, so bear with me. But just from what Augusta looks like on TV versus what Innisbrook, the Copperhead course, looks like, there's quite a bit of pine straw. There's a lot of hills. There's a lot of dog legs moving right to left, left to right. And it was so firm this year relative to last year. Like I was seeing everyone saying the greens looked like shit. It's like, that's what they're supposed to look like when they're firm and fast. Unfortunately, you're not going to have perfectly green greens in those conditions that are firm and fast like they wanted them to be. So totally baked out. The fairways were firm as well. And it was a little breezy. Like, I mean, look at the winning score, 11 under, and the cut was at 1 over. So one of the harder regular season events that they play out there. And I think it lived up to the billing. Like these guys have said, you have to hit all the shots. The tee shots are brutal. Like the par threes are brutal. The one par 3 8, like I think it plays as long as 235. And the opening in the front of the green is like 12 feet wide between the bunkers. It is, you have to hit such good golf shots. I just, staring at these holes myself, I was like, holy shit, this place looks hard as hell. Like, and the greens just obviously made it that much tougher, but really, really good track. And I could see them being elevated to a signature event. I really could. And getting the bigger names. And like I said last year, the first time I went, I was shocked at like the local support. The crowds are awesome. The food, they do a lot for veterans too, which is really cool. They have a whole tent where if you're a veteran, you get to go in for free. They give you hats, they give you food, they give you drinks. So just cool shit like that really encourages people to come out. But I could absolutely, with a stronger field, I could see it being one of the top 15 events on the PGA Tour. Like, it's already kind of there. And I know that with a little bit of elevation, maybe some more money, and who knows, which direction the PGA Tour is going to go. But overall, I've always thought it was a good product. That was the reason I wanted to go down before I'd even been there. I was like, the Valspar seems like a low key, very fun electric golf tournament to watch, because the course is so hard. And now you pair that with a good field this year, and it just felt like it definitely took it to another level. Like having Xander Schauffele in the field, you should have seen, and I don't know if it had to have been Brooks. Like Brooks has got a lot of pull, and that is what I didn't really realize relative to, golfers are not basketball players. They're not football players. They don't feel like stars. But Brooks is definitely, if you were to have to pick like a handful of stars in golf, I would say Brooks is kind of that guy. And the groups following them, there had to have been like easily 2,000 to 3,000 people just following them around the entire golf course, not just waiting for them or whatever. They were following the group the entire time. And it was Corey Connors, Victor Hovland, and Hovland's got a little bit of pull as well. And then Brooks Koepka. So Brooksy had a lot of pull in there. But the golf course is just brutal, dude. Like watching these guys hit these shots, to these elevated greens with the bunkers protecting them, and the greens are firm, and the greens are like, it is truly a really good event. And that's why it's also not surprising that Matt Fitzpatrick won, is because he is so good on hard golf courses. And, my dumbass bets on Rio Hitsatsune when there's so many holes you have to hit fades on out there. And I don't think Hitsatsune knows what a fade looks like. So that was kind of brutal on my part. Jacob Bridgman had another good week. But there was guys at the top of the leaderboard where you're like, fuck, I should have seen that coming. And I didn't. But I think it absolutely lived up to its billing. It seemed like everybody had a great time. Yeah, it's a very good event. I would like to venture out and, go to more random PGA Tour events, but in the grand scheme of going to anything, the Valspar is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, and I mentioned his name a little bit earlier, but it just continues on the same trajectory of every single PGA Tour event. I feel like this year, granted, the Sony Open and the Hawaii and a little bit of the California Swing is kind of in the back of my mind at this point, but every single week there's a guy that has a multiple shot lead going into Sunday. I don't think we've had a single tie going into Sunday this year, or at
We've
least in
had
the last couple of
we
weeks.
had one. It was Smotherman and Lowry. Was it Smotherman and Lowry were at leading the Cognizant, I want to say. But statistically speaking, only 3 out of 11 Saturday night leaders going into Sunday have won PGA Tour events this year. So guys are converting at less than a 30% clip, holding the Saturday lead into Sunday and going on to win, which I feel like is even lower. And it's gotten to the point where I almost knew Sanjay wasn't going to win when he had the Saturday lead. I immediately scrolled down on the betting apps. I'm like, who is going to come back? And I did hit Matt Fitzpatrick. I bet him on Sunday morning plus 450. Wish I would have put more down, but that's betting. It's hindsight's 2020. And I also did bet Florida minus 10.5, and maybe that's what willed Iowa to win the game. But hit that Matt Fitzpatrick win, and he is just so solid. And those couple clutch putts he made down the stretch too, because it felt like a U.S. Open style where I was looking at his scorecard and it was just par after par after par. You throw a birdie here, in here or there, but it almost felt like there for a little bit the winner was going to be single digit under par, which would have been pretty fucking crazy for just a regular PGA Tour event compared to what we're going to see in Texas these next 2 weeks, which is going to be 20 plus under par easily.
Yeah, complete birdie fest. I saw a tweet this morning that Jordan Spieth, who actually had a decent week at the Valspar, I don't know where he ended up finishing, but he had more birdies than Matt Fitzpatrick did. And so that's where it puts a premium on not making the big numbers, having par be a good score on a lot of these holes, and going out and just winning a golf tournament and birdieing. Matt Fitzpatrick birdieing the 72nd hole is just a stamp on that win for him, which I'm super happy for, other than the fact that he wasn't on my card. My good luck Chuck run continues, where all I do is just fucking bet on someone, and then they end up winning the whole tournament the next week or 2 weeks from then. But yeah, actually pretty good event to watch, and having Brooksy there, having Victor Hovland there, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, I feel like it's no longer and maybe this is just a tour in general, I don't know, because it does look like a lot of the guys that committed to the Valspar or the Valero Texas Open or the Texas Children's Shriners Open, the next couple of events, like Scotty Scheffler's committed, it seems like they're getting a little bit more buy-in from some of these guys on the PGA Tour, and we won't have a ton of those. Just not that they're bad, because all these players are very good, and there's a lot of the mid-level PGA Tour players deserve to play more golf and deserve to be in more events and try to make their living, because that's what they're doing. But it does seem like we're getting more commitments from the bigger name players on the PGA Tour to play in these quote unquote smaller tour events, which is always awesome. It just makes for better viewership and more chances for the and the excitement leading up to the tournament to live up to something for the kind of casual golf watcher fan, versus the diehards are going to watch all of them. The super casuals are going to watch all the majors and the players, but these individual tour events that are kind of squished in between have gotten a lot more love, I think, this year than in the past, and that's good to see.
For sure. Yeah, that's rising tide lifts all ships. You add more money to the bigger events, and then the smaller events kind of even the lower level guys want to play in all these and shit, and then you get a few big names to buy in, and it makes for a great golf tournament. So I would say I did not see the ratings, but I would say viewership was definitely up this year. And then you got a guy like Marco Pench, who's a guy that a lot of people don't know his name, but having a good week this week, and then in weeks following, I could see him winning this next week. It's just this golf course is perfect because there's no specific kind of player that is guaranteed to play well. You can bomb it. Like next week, you need to hit it long. It's pretty free and clear, but a tournament like this where anybody, a bomber, a short guy, a great putter, a great iron player, it takes all kinds. And I think that is truly like what these guys are looking for. There's nothing worse, I'm sure, because I've felt it as well, where you go out to an event and of course just does not suit your game. And you're just like, well, this is a write-off, and generally most weeks were for me because I just wasn't very good. But even just these really elite players feeling like they have a chance is huge. So yeah, great tournament week. Shout out Matt Fitzpatrick. What a W. First in strokes gained approach this week. And I guess that's kind of where he felt like his game was struggling, because off the tee, he's been phenomenal. And then that flat stick, that old school yes putter, is still as hot as it's ever been. So just put it all together. As coming off of that players loss, he could have easily had a shitty week, had a bad front nine, bad first day, and been like, oh, why did I even do this shit? But to come back, to maintain that momentum and not be like, oh, I lost this event, I'm not good. It's like, oh, I played really, really fucking good at the players, and then go to, I wouldn't call it an easier, but almost similar style of course this week, and to go out and win. I think it just kind of proves to him that I wouldn't be shocked to see Matt Fitzpatrick win a major this year by any means. It kind of feels like
the way he's playing right now, it kind of feels like he's got just as good a game and form. His form is just as good as basically anybody right now. I mean, you look at it last year, maybe this stat that just popped into my head from thinking about it. Who lost the players in a playoff last year?
I feel like
was it a live stream?
Oh, was it Rory?
No, who lost the players? Who lost the players in a playoff last year?
And JJ Spawn, the U.S. Open champion.
I was gonna say, who won the U.S. Open? Okay,
yeah.
Patrick's got a U.S. Open under his belt, so you lose the players at the end to win a major later on down the season. One thing we did want to talk about too, kind of pertaining to Matt Fitzpatrick, is how Adrian Demont Deschart was chassarding on the pace of play the entire day on Sunday. And so this came out from golf.com on Twitter. Quote, he is a little perturbed with his playing partner's pace of play. It is glacial, to be kind. Glacial is a great word. I love that. I might start using that. John Wood on Matt Fitzpatrick, who's currently tied for the lead and playing with Adrian Demont Deschart. After Brad Faxon followed up, Wood said that Fitzpatrick hit his approach on the 11th first, even though he was closer, and walked up to the green, which is an elite move when somebody's going slow. You just fucking go. You just go ahead of them. You just keep playing the hole. Where he waited about 3 minutes before Adrian DDC, I'm not going to say his last name again because I can't fucking properly pronounce it. Rules official Orlando Pope said that Fitzpatrick talked to an official, and they have decided to give ADDC an official warning after timing him unofficially since Fitzpatrick's request. So I don't know, where do you think this is just a player by player thing? Do you think this is everybody? Do you think that it's somebody in the lead being a little poopy pants about somebody else, or like, where do you sit on this? Do you think that everybody just needs to speed up and then there's not issues?
No, I mean, I think that individuals should be called out because it's one of those things where it's like a traffic stop where you can point it at somebody, but there's so many cars going slow that you really are just like, well, it's just traffic, it's just slow. And I feel like that kind of ends up being the case on the golf courses. Oh, well, it's just slow today, but there's clearly people that are taking longer than others, and to pick them out and to like put them on the clock. I think similar to, how baseball has added the pitch clock in an effort to speed it up and make it more watchable. I think golf is kind of in the same boat where it's like, make this shit more watchable by it. And they do the broadcast is weird because I hate the constant just a moment ago, we're just going to show you this shot that happened 2 minutes ago and now we're showing it. But when they're showing shots in real time and you have to watch Patrick Cantlay stand over it for 40 seconds or Adrian Deschambeau pick a club for 30 seconds and go through that pre-shot routine. I don't have a problem with people. And that's the other thing is like, as a rules official, can you not see who's playing slow? When Matt Fitzpatrick gets up and goes, Ludwig Aber gets up and goes, Cam Young gets up and goes. There's so many modern age golfers that are ready to rock, and like they almost try to take all the overthought out of it by just getting up. They make a decision, they hit the ball, and they go and they hit it again. So I think it is becoming even more evident who's slow, and absolutely fucking call them out. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's becoming a problem and it's especially noticeable. Like if Fitzpatrick was in the top 10 and 10, 5, 6 shots off the lead, I don't think he cares as much. But it really, when you're fucking with somebody else's livelihood because you're just playing a hit and giggle out there and having, taking so long on shots, I think the toughest part is you kind of have to, it's obvious pace of play and somebody being slow can be obvious, but you also need a reason to end up penalizing people. Like you have to actually put it in writing. It's like firing people nowadays at jobs. You can't just be objective and say, okay, this person sucks at their job, we're going to fire them. You have to take notes and you have to watch them do things wrong over and over again and build a fucking case against them basically to freely fire people. And that's kind of where pace of play is. You can look at the group and know why that group's behind or what's going on. But until Fitzpatrick says something and then they put him on the clock and then they go one further step and decide to either penalize him or not, it's just kind of such a long bullshit process. But it is great when individual guys get called out, and that for a guy that's not really a PGA Tour mainstay like Adrian, he's a good player obviously and has his PGA Tour card and is not one of the mid-level guys or even low-level guys, but he is. It sucks for him a little bit too. Like you got to play faster. You got to fucking just figure it out, dude. Because especially when you're playing with English people or Scottish or Irish people, those players will definitely call you out because they're all usually when they grow up playing, they're fucking moving, they're cooking.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's the other thing that I heard Smiley Kaufman talk about is like how fast these guys walk just in order to have more time over their ball. Like he said, they're walking like 7 to 8 miles an hour. And so I would be fuck fuzz on tour because I'm not a slow walker by any means, but my legs are just not long enough for me to move that quickly. So these guys walk fast, and then a lot of them just get up there and fucking rip at it. So when you're playing that slow, I feel like you stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. You just it's blatantly obvious. One other thing we wanted to get to One thing else, yeah, is this tweet that you sent me. There's been, for those of you that have seen the clips of Akshay Bhatia on another golf pod that we won't mention on this podcast because Big Drive Energy is the only golf pod you should be listening to. Akshay Bhatia, of course, has been, because he's playing better and he's one of the better players on the PGA Tour right now, a win recently. Everyone's freaking out about his putter and his anchoring, and he said, quote, something like, I'll take my shirt off and putt so people can see really how far away it is from me. But this tweet you sent me is from Joel M. Beal, and he said, pro golf is overdue for a conversation on mallets and counterbalance putters. High MOI technology has its place in the amateur game, but on tour, it's eroding the skill and art form that used to separate the good from the great. And granted, I know that's not necessarily talking about long putters, but it's kind of in the same light as, do you think everybody should be forced to use the same length putter or the same style of putter and you just have to play that way? I'm kind of torn because, if it's not like not everybody has the access to all, like if lab putter was the best for everyone, each and every pro could go out and get it. I think there's some guys maybe out there that are playing a putter that they don't necessarily love because of their contract deal. But I feel like any PGA Tour player, if they felt like they were putting bad because of their flat stick, they would get rid of it and find something that works for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think that everybody should have to play the same thing because golf is such a sport of individuality. But then when you think about other sports, it's really not that far out of question. Like, look at baseball. they play with different weights and shit, but they play with all the same bats. They play with all the same. There's no bat that gives them more pop or gives them more this or that. And I guess that's what makes golf so unique, is all the different little caveats and the little twists and turns of things that you could tinker with. Victor Hovland, for example, just Wyndham Clark playing a different driver every week. But yeah, the whole putter thing is interesting because, like Akshay said, if it made putting so easy, then why doesn't everybody out there have a broomstick putting? Like, it's different for everybody. But it would be interesting if they removed, like, if they said no zero torque putters on the PGA Tour. Like, what the fuck do you do at that point? Because look at Adam Scott. He's putting with a broomstick and zero torque. It's just such an interesting thing, the way this technology has. I definitely would say that there's more players playing elite golf now than there was years ago, because the technology kind of lends itself to helping them improve where they're flawed, if that makes sense. So, and on the putting green, if everybody was putting with a blade, I think that would actually be, fuck it. I want everyone to putt with a blade. I want everyone to have to use the exact same putter. And I want to see some of these dudes end up with like 42 putts in a round. Like, nothing would make me happier. Send them all out with the exact same specs, the exact same clubs, and just see what happens. You could pick from like 3 different weights, but that's it. And just send them all out there at the exact same shit. Because how electric would that be? That truly removes all of the subjectivity of the equipment, everything. Give them all this. What if there's just one golf ball for the entire PGA Tour? That's everybody played the exact same ball.
PGA Tour ball. That'd be electric. You know how many they'd sell to the fucking average Joe?
Oh, a million. But I think it would. I think it would be absolutely fucking sweet to just see them all. And golf is such an interesting thing because you can't put everybody in a box. Like, I can't swing it the same way Marco Penge or fucking Gary Woodland swings it or whatever. And it's just such it's an artistic game. It really is. And so when you take some of the art out of it, I can kind of understand where this guy's coming from. I do enjoy seeing guys get a little bit more, and maybe this is just me sound like a boomer, but I like more of the touch around the greens. I like guys playing different shots, high soft ones, low spinners. Everyone has just gotten so mechanical and what gives them the best probability of an outcome that it feels like some of the touch has left the game.
Yeah, no, you're right there. Before we get to Mulligan Monday, which we do to finish up every single Monday episode, want to give a quick shout out to BD, Bryson DeChambeau, winning at LIV Golf South Africa this past week. Some great crowds out there. LIV Golf is doing a good job of getting to these cities and these places that are golf hungry and don't have professional big tours with big names and worldwide known names. So shout out to Bryson DeChambeau. I want to get your quick 30-second thought on this. I did see a tweet talking about LIV, and the last 4 winners have been Anthony Kim, Bryson, John Rahm, and then Anthony Kim again, Bryson DeChambeau again. And somebody had the quote or the theory that now that LIV has gone to 4 rounds, the cream and the better players are truly rising to the top. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
Is this just random that these 4 guys have just won, and it not random, they're good players, but do you think it changes anything from going from 3 to 4 rounds of who's winning these LIV events?
For sure. It's just one more round for a better player to catch a not as good player. So it depends on how you're looking at it. But ultimately, if you're the better player, you're going to come out on top. And that's how many times have we said this year that Scotty Scheffler just ran out of holes. Now, lately, it looks like he's been having a little bit of a rough go. But if he only played 3 rounds, he'd be like a middling PGA Tour player. So, yeah, I definitely think playing a 4th round has something to do with the better players actually winning these events instead of running out of holes in order to come back. Because like the Champions Tour is a 3 round deal, and it feels like outcomes could definitely change there as well. It's much more of a sprint than it is a marathon. So But I like the 4 rounds. It's similar to March Madness versus an NBA championship. 7 games, generally the better team rises to the challenge and wins. But one game, anything can happen. So I definitely think there's some to it.
I love it. All right. Well, let's finish up this Monday edition with a little Mulligan Monday. So Mulligan Monday is where something happens to us throughout the week where we just wish we could take a mulligan or wish we paid a little bit closer attention. In my case, I'll start us off this week. So we put Sawyer, we have 2 car seats now, 2 kids, 2 car seats in the back, and we went to put Sawyer into his car seat the other day. And don't know how long it's been this way, but his car seat was not fully strapped in to the car. And it could have been weeks. It could have been a day. We moved some car seats around the last couple of weeks, getting them both into the car. But it was definitely a parent fail. Praise God that nothing happened during this entire period where his car seat wasn't fully strapped in. But we looked at each other, my wife and I, and we're like, how is this? It's not like I was strapping him in, but the actual car seat itself wasn't fully strapped to the car. And I have no clue how long it's been like that. So definitely double check your car seats if you're moving them around, and make sure they're strapped in, because like I said, thank God nothing ever happened. We didn't get in any wrecks or anything, but it might have been bad had we. So I'm thankful.
Jesus. Yeah. You gotta pay attention to the small things. I know you get caught up in all the big daily life, but you got to make sure that shit's dialed in. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past him if he somehow loosened it, because he's just that kind of little psycho that knows how to do that type of shit at this point. So my Mulligan Monday is, I think that I've been ripping some loud ass on airplanes, but these new soundproof headphones don't allow me. Like when you're farting, you can feel a fart and kind of know if it's going to be loud or not. And the lady next to me had no headphones in on my flight down to Tampa. She was like ripping her teenage son a new asshole like the entire time. It was kind of uncomfortable. And she was just sitting there raw dogging this flight. And I kind of leaned over, just a little courtesy lean. And I think I ripped some pretty loud ass. And I immediately texted you afterwards and was like, I think I just fucked up, because this lady's on to me, realizing how much I am just tooting on this flight, and I couldn't hear. Like maybe it's a hear no evil, see no evil. Because then I went into the bathroom at the Tampa airport, and this dude next to me is just having the worst morning. It sounded like I just popped my AirPods in. I'm like, I don't need to listen to this guy shitting right now. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm just going to listen to a podcast. So maybe everybody should just wear AirPods or headphones in the bathroom, or there needs to be nobody without headphones on a plane. Please put your headphones in so people can just fart freely. Cause there's nothing worse than trying to cornhole a fart on an airplane when you're already uncomfortable. You're already hot. You just got to get rid of it.
Oh man, that's so good. That is so good. You were texting me on the plane and just, yeah, I think it was loud. I thought it was going to be silent, and it wasn't.
And it made a sound, and it got louder. Yeah.
It wasn't
that
silent.
was my stepbrother's moment. Now the tuxedos seem kind of fucked up.
I love it. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into this Monday edition of Big Drive Energy. We've got some scheduling things to figure out. We will do a little preview at some point before this week. PGA Tour moves to Texas. Make sure you're following us on all the socials at Big Drive Energy on Twitter, Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram, Big Drive Energy on the TikTok. We appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your Monday. Sweet 16 coming up this Wednesday, Nebraska, Iowa. We are fired the fuck up. Enjoy your couple days. We will talk to you before the Texas Open. Peace.
Peace.